Welcome back, guys. If you don't know who it is, it's the President, Sean Williams. Welcome back to the Safe Room. I'm really glad that you guys are here to tune into this one because this may be a long one. Depending how it goes, this one may be a long one. So I'm back today with another episode, and today I'm going to be talking about the government and basically the government's plans to bring back the school year. Now, the first time I heard this, I wasn't really a fan of this because, come on. Why are they doing this? Why are they trying to, bring back the school year, acting like COVID's still not out there? But, yeah, it definitely struck me in a wrong way, but we're here to talk about it. Before I get onto it, I have a quick announcement. So, you've noticed I dropped a couple sports podcasts with my guys, Kevin and Tien, and I want to make it official. So, next episode, we're going to start the sports podcast, but under a new name called Timeout. So, it's going to be me, Kevin, Tien. We're going to talk about everything sports, whether it's MLB, NBA, NFL. I'll try to, mix it up a bit, but it's going to drop in the next 2 weeks, somewhere around there. July 6th is the date. And that's going to be a special episode. Definitely it's going to be something that no one really expected in terms of a topic. But make sure you keep an eye out for that. July 6th, the debut of the Timeout Sports Podcast with Kevin, Tien, and myself. It's going to be great. Make sure you guys subscribe. Click the bell to get notified for all the podcasts that I drop. Like, comment, share it with your friends. Yo, let everybody know about this channel, man. I'm trying to get this channel to grow, okay? And yeah, let's just get it started. So, the government in the past couple days made an announcement that they want to bring back the school year. And they have different plans in doing so. Now, of course, I should give you a summary. So, in an interview, Ford talked about they want to provide school boards with the tools and the guidelines to get back in the classroom in terms of the students. And they want to empower the school boards to make decisions based on their local needs, the local challenges, and their local priorities. The plans that they have in place is, number one, return back to regular classes. So basically go back to the way it was, how you just would regular in-class instructions, but also you're having strict health and safety protocols. So making sure that, okay, if we're going back, there's proper hand hygiene. That means we're screening students as well. The second is the continuation of remote learning. So basically continue with the online classes, the format there. And obviously for teachers, it's going to be difficult to see how they're going to teach the classes now online. And the final one, which I'm not a huge fan of, is basically a hybrid model. So basically they're combining the two. So there's in-class instructions and then there's online learning. But the catch is that there's going to be no more than 15 students in the classroom. So I really don't know why they're trying to do this. School's not starting in a couple months, but it doesn't mean that they have to start thinking of stuff right now. But it's a lot to digest because I'm one of the persons that's just thinking about this in the sense that we still are in lockdown and the government keeps extending this emergency in terms of just staying indoors, keeping social distancing. And I'm just in the mindset of if you guys just keep extending the dates month after month or even week by week, but you have plans to come back with the school year, it's just you need to figure out what you need to prioritize first. Is it going to be focusing on letting people go outside and, having the opportunity to, walk around, maybe go to their local store, their local mall? Or is it that you still want to keep people indoors, but have the school year come back for the students? I don't understand. I feel that's where it's you're fighting against both arguments. So I'm going to break it down each section. So the return to regular classes. Now, if they do this, obviously, there needs to be protocols, there needs to be procedures that need to be followed through in terms of health and safety. And honestly, I'm curious in terms of the class size. Yes, the hybrid is offering no more than 15 students, but if they do go back to regular classes, is it still going to be 15 students? Is it going to be 20? Are we not going to see that much of a huge class environment? What happens with teachers? How are they going to be protected? There's a lot of limitations to that. And just honestly, bringing back regular classes is just it's too much of a risk because yes, there's people that could catch COVID, but there could be so many other variables in terms of how someone could catch the virus as well. And for people as well who are just like really are not about going back to class at this time, just the mental health, which I will talk about later, is a huge factor as well. I mean, going back to classrooms, knowing that there's a virus still, like I'm going to be worried about myself and how I conduct my schedule throughout the time. So that alone just makes me feel like, you know what, like I gotta wake up every single day, go to class, knowing like there's still a virus there. It's just like, where's the safety involved? Even if you have screening on students before school, and no matter how that procedure looks like, I still have to sit there in a classroom and learn knowing that there's people that could be positive the next day or could be positive within the same day. Also, if you're gonna have regular classes, is it gonna be taught in the same class for like different courses, or like are people actually gonna shift into different classrooms? Because that just makes it worse. I mean, if you're gonna have regular classes, you might as well just stay in one room and just teach different courses. That means you just have to select a group of students, like, okay, within these group of students, we're gonna teach you math, science, English, whatever, and then you go home and you come back the next day. If you have a student going to different classes throughout the day, you mean to tell me that the percentage of someone catching COVID does not increase? Because there's a possibility that it could. And honestly, I don't believe that's a safe bet to do. I just feel like if you're going to do something like that, you're going to have to figure out how does the students get placed into each classroom, what are the numbers in terms of like each classroom has for students. There's a lot of things going to that. Then there's the online learning, continuation of online learning. Now, I've had a lot of friends tell me that like the online learning right now for the school board is just like, it's not really helping them. And it's because like they feel like they're not really learning anything important in terms of just, they're not getting the best style in terms of what they need to do for their assignments, for their projects. But what I've heard is that not really teachers are teaching those classes. They're just kind of setting up a platform where they would send work to the students and then they would do the work. But this time, it would actually mean coming back and the teachers would have to teach the students online. So again, you got to find different platforms. Do you use a Google Meet? Do you use a Zoom? Do you use another outlets to teach students online? And as much as people think, well, it's pretty simple. The curriculum, especially for like the school boards and like let's say outside of university, it's totally different. Like we have, as a university student, we have online courses, and for professors, they know how to like maneuver all that stuff. They already have a whole agenda, a whole syllabus plan. For other teachers who aren't used to that type of style, it's going to be difficult because for them, there might be teaching multiple classes in one day. And, it's not like it's spaced out and the schedule is flexible to their time. It's just whatever. It's like some teacher may have a class at 8:30 and then right after that another class. And then right after that another class. And then there's lunch. Maybe they'll have a break off and then another class. So, like, again, switching from one section to another, especially if it's different courses as well. So let's say you go from math to science to IT to other topics as well, history, it's gonna be hard to balance out unless there's one teacher that's just straight up teaching one course with different classes. Then maybe that's the plan. But again, there's a lot of things that need to be considered in just terms of how online learning is, because as a university student, like, it's hard enough for me already. Like, once like the university shut down in March, like, it was hard enough having to like go online and the teachers were teaching the class, and like you can't really like go to them face to face. If you had any questions, you had to like either say it right to them or you had to email them. It was a lot. And even for like when you sent emails, like some of the professors didn't even respond. Like, they would take probably a couple days, at best a week, to respond to your message, and then you may have an assignment due, or you have a reading to do and you have no clue what to talk about, or no clue what to say for a tutorial class that you may have in the next couple of days. So with that, and I just feel having online learning, it's maybe the most likely thing. I'm not saying it's the best option, but in just terms, I'm really concerned of the safety of students just going back, especially how people are saying like there's going to be a second wave of this coronavirus as well. Because when flu season kicks in, that's where testings are going to have to like double up. That's where you have to be like really cautious about everyone going to different places, just again, social distancing. I think one of the main things is just how they're going to teach it. Like, how is it going to operate? How are teachers going to be able to teach the courses to the students without feeling like they're not doing their job or they're not doing enough to the students in terms of they understand the information and they're able to do their assignments and projects without any struggle. There's the combination of in-class instructions and online learning. Now, the foreign government's saying they want to implement all three plans, but honestly, I don't even understand what they mean by that, because what you're basically saying is this. So if you were to implement all three plans, you're going to have students have the option if they want to go to school every single day, they can, but the parents can be like, no, I don't want my child going to school. They're staying home and they're doing online classes. That's fine. That kind of ties into the hybrid. And if you think about it, if the parent is telling the child that you're staying home and doing online courses, that applies to the second option of just the continuation of online learning. But the portion where it's talking about having regular classes again, like, I feel that's confusing. So like, what does that mean? Is there going to be like specific classrooms for like, these are the people that always come every single day? Is this going to be for the people who decide, I don't want to stay home, I don't want to learn online, I want to get my education every single day, going to class, connecting with my teachers, that way, I understand better? How is that going to work? Is there maybe like, you have majority classrooms for like the hybrid, a couple of classes like, oh, these are just the regular students every single day? How does that affect testing? Does one class get tested more than the other class as well? There's a lot of things that come into play. And I think just implementing all three, I feel like the government's kind of confused on what they want to do. And it's not that I'm trying to bash them, but I am trying to bash them. It's just like, I feel like when all that's happened, you should have at least something in plan, or at least saying like, we want to do this. Sometimes you're going to have to make hard decisions. Yes, a lot of people are not going to like that. But the fact that you're just willing to throw anything on the wall until it sticks is just kind of risky. There's a lot of parents asking, are our children going to come back to school? Are they going to stay home? What's happening to us? Don't forget, parents are working as well. So that really affects if, okay, I have to drop my kid to school, or if not, like, do they have to come stay home and watch them because maybe they're too young and I can't leave them home alone? There's a lot of things that come into that. And honestly, I just feel like the government needs to come down to one decision, or at least come down to two. It's like, we want to do this or that, and we have to discuss with the rest of the school boards. So yeah, that's basically the three. If you ask me which one I think they should do, it's not really up to me. I don't really think the regular classes is a good idea. Again, it's just until we fully know that we can, I don't know, whether it's a vaccine or then the government says, we are going to do testing to see if we are able to decrease the number of cases even further, and then intensify the vaccine process, then fine. But if not, then what's the point of doing regular classes? There's no point. The online learning is just, that's probably the route I would go for, because again, we're already doing online courses, but again, how's it going to work for different school boards in terms of just how the teachers teach the classes? It's going to be a lot of complex situations. So the blended with the in-class and online learning is just, I don't know. I just don't think it's a smart idea. There's a lot of things that I'm going to mention later on once I get to it, where there's physical distancing, but you can't wear any mask in the classroom. There's a lot of rules and regulations into that. It's just going to be weird. And I just believe that that's just a lot of confusion. And even though that I mentioned that they wanted to implement all three, it seems like the one they're most likely going to do is the blending of the classes and online learning. And honestly, I don't know why. Again, I don't know why they want to do this, because I wrote down a list of terms of variables to consider. First thing is course selection. In terms of like selecting your course and figuring out what you want to take for the school year, having it where you have blended in classes and then online is going to be so difficult. What does that mean to guidance counselors who have to help you with selecting your courses? What happens to some students is like, well, in terms of what I picked, I can't do this class because, well, it requires that I have to be there in school. One example is gym class. I mean, you're not gonna have gym online. The only portion of gym that you have online is if you're having health as well. But if you take gym, most likely, how's that gonna work? Because you're gonna have a lot of students running around, sweaty, and if you have change rooms as well, how's that procedure gonna work as well? Is there gonna be like testing it in there? Is there gonna be like hygiene, or it's just some way to like properly sanitize yourself? In terms of that, you can't really find like a balanced portion of it. You can't find like a balanced section where it's like, okay, you know what? No matter of the course selection, we can work this out. Some courses may affect because there's a low attendance because of the limitation of the coronavirus, because you can't do this course online because you just can't. You can't really see it that way. Another thing is location. Now, based on location for like middle schools, high schools, and elementary schools, some students, they may live close to the school. They may live close, so but others may live far. And I don't know how to define far. I don't want to like go all into the geographical portion of it, but basically there's location does matter. But like for someone who's probably coming on the opposite side of the GTA to go to school, not only is that tie into just the distance, but whatever you have to take transportation, we have to take the transit. So you have to take the TTC. For some people, they may have to take the subway. So that's a lot of like pressure. And again, like if you're gonna do that, are you gonna keep a list of like the addresses in like terms of like, okay, so we're gonna test everyone, but we have to keep an eye on these students because based on location? Or does it mean for like optional attendance form, it feels like if you're not within this, let's say for example 50-kilometer radius, if you don't live within this area, we're sorry, but we cannot take you into our school because there could be the risk that you traveling from this area to the next area using modes of transportation like the TTC or the subway, that could be a huge factor into whether there could be positive or negative COVID cases. So there's a lot to really digest from that alone. More just than the classes, there's going to be clubs as well. There's going to be teams. That's most likely not going to happen. You're not going to have any sports teams. You're not going to have any clubs. And if there's any clubs, what's the ways to communicate? How's that going to work? And also, the time period. How long is this going to last? How long is this going to last? Is this going to last for, I don't know, maybe up to like January, then let's see if maybe we can stick to one thing? Or is it going to be for the entire school year? Is it only going to be is this going to be like a test run just to see after 1 week? We haven't really got like a full like timeline in terms of how long this will last. They said they're going to see after the first week of September and then reevaluate it, but in terms of actually saying like we have like a whole plan to say like, okay, for this month we're going to be doing this and that, and during these weeks we're going to have procedures of testing here, we're going to have procedure testing here, and then we're going to see how everything is just balancing in terms of the numbers. We don't see something like that. We're not experiencing nothing like that. So I feel from there it's a lot to just say like, oh, we can just bring back the school year because the number of cases are going down, and it's much. We have to figure out to see like, well, we have to see if everything is proper, if everything is actually going down because the virus is starting to like deteriorate in terms of like the numbers. But there's so many other things that's still tie into play, and I think until we actually get a definitive answer of like where do we move next, and then we actually have a plan, I don't think it's smart to just do this hybrid plan. Especially like, I mean, the regular classes I'm not a fan of too. The online learning, do I think you could do something different? I'm not sure. I can't really think of anything right now, but the whole connection between in-class instructions and online learning is just really confusing for people to understand, and I just don't think it will work. Basically, the Ford government, again, they said they want to provide the school boards with the tools and the guidelines to get back into the classroom. And basically, this was not a collective decision in terms of all the school boards. This actually stemmed from the Ford government, which stemmed from Education Minister Stephen Leese. And from there, the entire idea was actually first brought up was from a recommendation from the Sick Kids Hospital. Now, they were the ones that spoke out and say that we really stress that students go back to school, and they gave the recommendations and a report to say, okay, these are the things that you need to do, or these are the things that we recommend that could make the school year much safer. So again, like I mentioned, they plan to screen students before arrival at school, hand hygiene, and against the use of masks, but in that there's going to be physical distancing measures. So basically, whether it's like maybe desk separations, like, having in terms of like the scheme of that, but there will be no mask. And they stress the need of students to return to school in order to avoid adverse health and welfare consequences. And the some of the examples they used was like there could be a delay in diagnosis care for medical conditions unrelated to COVID-19, and most importantly, the impacts on children's behaviors and mental health. Here's what I don't understand. I would agree with what Sick Kids have to say, which then eventually came to the announcement of Stephen Lease and the federal government to implement their plans. I would understand why they're talking about impacts of children and behavior and mental health, but I feel like I can't agree to that without having the voice of the students. Now, I'm a person that really sees that when it has to do with like the school boards, like student voice is important. And the fact that, they're planning to have these plans in the future coming up really soon, and you're not getting the input of what the students think of the situation, what do they think is the right thing to do, what should be the next steps. It's weird to me. It's really weird to me because eventually it's the student's safety that matters first. Not discrediting the teachers or the staff safety, but it is the students that are getting the education that they need. And for them to come back knowing that no matter what plan they put together, there's still the chance that someone may be tested positive for COVID-19. Someone could catch a case. And they don't get to speak out on what they believe is right, not just for them, but for the safety of the students. It's really crazy to me. It really is. They want to talk about impacts on children's behavior and mental health based on the fact that people are teaching online learning. Well, of course, when you are stuck in the house and you can't go nowhere, your mental health is going to go down. You're going to feel like you have nothing to do. And the fact that you have these online classes and you can't do nothing, you can't talk with your friends, there's no denying that your mental health is going to go down. But I will say this. One thing that I noticed in my high school career is that when I was at school, there were even times that I didn't even want to be in the school itself. There were times like I didn't want to be in the classroom. I didn't want to be sitting there for a long period of time. I just felt like, in terms of like the teaching styles, it was the same thing. Nothing was really changing. I wasn't really enjoying myself. And that's why for some students, they felt like, we kind of go to school because we want to talk to our friends. For some people, it's like, I don't really go to classes because, they teach the same thing. In terms of like the style, nothing's different. So for them to say like, oh, students, they're feeling that their mental health is going down because they're not in the classroom. No. Their mental health going down because they're not really hanging out with their friends that much. And if you think that talking on social media or texting somebody or calling someone is good enough, then you're probably not listening to what the students actually believe. Like, trust me, like, I know at some points, like, I don't want to be on social media all the time. I would like to talk to my friends face to face, especially, during the school year where, like, nothing was going on, especially at the end of the school year. Like, at the end of, like, my grade 12 year, it's just, I wasn't even going to classes. I was, like, heading straight to the library. I was hanging with my friends. Like, we were just, like, talking, having fun, because, like, there really was nothing motivational about going to school at the moment. So if you have students about that time just talking about that and expressing their feelings that, I don't feel like going to school, because what are you not going to say that you didn't say yesterday or the day before or the week before that? What's something different that you're going to make me want to engage with what you have to say? Most likely nothing. So then I feel like for them to just say like, oh, one thing that we are concerned about is the impacts of children's behavior, mental health. And then they want to see like we're losing sleep over the students not going to school. Why is that? Because one thing, again, I would agree with you. But again, I can't agree if the government is planning to go on to phase two in terms of reopening restaurants, stores, and malls. So I'm looking at sick and I'm like, okay, are you saying that because you actually believe that it's right for the students to go back and get the education they deserve? Or it's because that, like, half of the year, we've been sitting here hoping that a vaccine was created and hoping that something was developed to eventually end this virus, end this pandemic. And the fact that you guys haven't, and it's not on sick kids, but like no one hasn't really figured out a way. So now they're trying to send kids to school, just feel like, well, you know what? If we send kids to school, we can get more testing, we can get more research, and that way we can figure out something to do. Like, is that the reason why you feel that you're losing sleep? Is that the reason why you feel like you're not focusing well in your position and you feel like, oh, students need to go back? You know, they need to go back to school. Is it important that they go back to school and get your education? Or is it important that you get more time to figure out what's actually happening with this coronavirus? Is it important that you trying to figure out, okay, what can we develop to fix all of this? Like, I just don't understand. And again, like, the government didn't even like consult with the school board. They actually made the announcement and they said they want the school boards to create a plan for what they want to do. This came off from sick kids. And you know, sick kids, they want to throw their stats, and I am not trying to say statistics are wrong, because there are statistics that are very, very factual. But then again, you don't want to look at statistics and let that be the end all be all result. There could be a lot of lurking variables to it. So one thing is the cases in terms of like students under 18 is the lowest of like any age group. But for most students, especially if you're in middle school or elementary school, you know, most likely your parents are home. You're not likely to go anywhere anyway. I'm pretty sure daycare facilities were closed down at the same portion of it. So for all those students, you're most likely going to stay in the house. Where are you really going? Where are you really going? And for then the high school students, yeah, there's some high school students that may go outside, may go somewhere in that, but they're still following safety protocols, whether it's social distancing, wearing a mask. There's a lot of things you have to consider. Just looking at the numbers just feels like you have to look at the numbers and like that's it. What you see is what the results should be when you have to like look much deeper into that. So I just feel that the fact that sick kids made this announcement and now they want to clarify that, oh, because of what we've been able to gather throughout the past few months of how students' behavior is, I think it's a good reason why students should go to school. Another thing too, there's a lot of organizations that want to justify how students feel when truly we are the only ones that can tell our stories of how we're feeling. Again, that's why I stress on student voice. I've talked with some students in the TDSB and they've said that they don't like the fact how like these online courses aren't really doing anything for them. This online learning, these tools, these resources, they're not really doing anything for them. And for the students that are graduating, going to university, that's just going to be even worse. Yes, there are students like in elementary and in high school and in middle school that want to talk to their friends. They don't want to be home. They don't want to stay home, stay in the same house they've been in for the past couple months just to learn and not really engage with their students. But I would be shocked if you believe that these students could also come back for the sake of the virus is still going on. But you know what? I wouldn't put it past the students, because you know what? The fact that we have been stuck in here so long, we want to go out. We want to be in an environment where we can just be free to talk with our friends, to just hang, to just chill. And honestly, there should be something in that allow students to do that. And I don't think just having the government or school boards or whoever or a hospital decide that when it's usually when it comes back to the students. Because again, the whole thing about school is that you're supposed to teach students the skills and the lessons, and that they will apply it to their projects or their assignments, but mostly take those skills so that way they can move on to the next stage. And then once they move on to the next stage, they can gather enough skills, enough knowledge to then pursue a career or pursue whatever goal that they want. And then just this random recommendation report from sick kids, which again, I'm not trying to call out them, I'm not trying to discredit them, a report comes out and all of a sudden 2 days later, now the federal government feels comfortable to implement those plans. It's felt like they wanted to do it, but they felt like there was going to be some type of backlash. So they felt like, let's just get, if someone says it before us, then maybe we're fine in the backseat. And I just feel like that alone just kind of tells you that the students here are just, they're about to graduate. They're about to graduate. It would be nice if you get to hear what they have to say. It's not even like a survey, not even anything to send out to the students like, we plan to do this and that. Like, what are your opinions? What do you feel on the situation? Is there something different we should do? Should we implement something else? If we don't implement something else, what do you think is the right thing to do? I look at the plans to return to regular classes. For students, they get to meet their friends. For some, they may not. Again, it's based on the class and how it's categorized. It's based on who's going to be in the classroom. For some people, you still may not get to see your friends. You still may not get to see the people you talk to. Maybe you get 1 or 2 friends and that's it. From there, you still feel like you're being caged in because like, well, I'm stuck here in school. I still feel a certain type of depression in myself. I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel relaxed. I don't feel happy. And this is coming from someone that's in university. Like, I've been in classrooms and like sometimes I be just bored. I don't care. Sometimes I just watch the clock, just waiting until the class is over. And I leave. It's coming from someone that goes to university in which, in terms of class schedule, you get to fix your timetable the way you want to. So having students come back to school every single day, being tested, being reminded that COVID's still out there, but we have to test you. And we have to put you in these classrooms. And again, there's going to have to be limitation in terms of how many people are in the classroom. There's that, and I know for some people too, there's going to be, what happens to hall monitors? There's going to be a lot of students going to be roaming around the halls. They can't do that. So what does that do? You come back to school, you feel like you're going back to the old way it was when people were not happy, but you're just doubling down the discipline. So it's just like, why are you doing this? You might as well stay home and do online learning. But oh no, people are tired of that too. People are not enjoying themselves. It is one thing I learned back in high school is that teaching the same thing in the exact same way is so repetitive and boring. There are days I wish that a teacher did something unorthodox. Teach in a way that I've never seen or don't really see in the classroom. Now, I'm fine with a teacher telling me straight up this and that on the board. I'm fine. For some students, they're like, you're going to have to show me through a picture, through a presentation, a video. Could it be more hands-on work? We're all different types of learners. And now you want to implement this because there's a pandemic. There's a virus going around. We don't know when this is going to end. And now you want to see, okay, let's try the whole online course thing, online learning thing, and have teachers teach this. When you basically implement that wasn't even a plan. You only implement that just to finish the school year. What I even said before, you should have just scrapped the school year. But you insist to finish it. So that was basically a test run. And even in your test run, the fact that students were sick and tired, what's going to happen when we get to September and you actually start having teachers teach online? No one's going to care. No one's going to care. And I guarantee you this. I would not be surprised if students get more annoyed online than they are in the classroom. Because imagine you're not learning to your best ability and you have to sit there in front of a screen listening to your teacher. And then back to the whole hybrid model of bringing online learning within class. It's just not going to work. This alternating days and weeks. How does this work? How do you even categorize the people who want to do online learning in regular classes? Because it's either people say just do online learning or do regular classes. Because if you think there's going to be an in-between, I don't think someone is just going to say, okay, for 1 week, I'm going to have online courses. For the next week, I'm going to school. I just feel like it's a lot to handle. And in terms of the 15 students, again, you're going to have to categorize and just like which students are going to show up this week. Are we going to see a different set of students the next week after that, the next week after that, and so on. So I feel like those plans just they don't have a structure. They're just there. Those are just like pitching ideas. They have some ideas, but they don't know how to like structure it properly. Again, there's time period. How long is it going to last? Again, people are graduating. For some university students, they have to start picking their courses again. And they're trying to get something up for August. Honestly, it's going to have to be now or never. It's either you have something planned to bring back the school year, but find some way to make it feel that students are not just coming back safe, but they're coming back healthy in terms of their mind. Like mental health. Their mental health is good. Because you don't want people to come back and then their mental health still is low. You don't want that. If you're doing that, then what's the point? You might as well just keep people at home. So that's really what I believe. I just think there's a lot that goes into it. And again, I mentioned before, the government wants to start phase 2 of reopening stores, malls, and restaurants. Whether it's on 6bus, I'm seeing bare posts of people at beaches, people at local parks, at a restaurant. Like it's just that even the DMV, a huge lineup. It's just that the minute people started opening, people are ready to jump out. People are ready to go back to the way it was. And I think because just how this year's been, with all the trials and tribulations, all the stuff that's happened, and how mentally we are just ready to move on. We're ready for like this year to end and start a fresh year. It doesn't really matter what if there's a consequence or there's something that needs to be addressed. People will probably hop on it because they're fed up. I'm not gonna lie, every single day, the fact that I wake up and I know I can't go nowhere, it irritates me. It absolutely blows my mind that I can't even walk to a park, even if you're in a store or you're somewhere else, no matter what the location is. I just feel it's crazy that everyone is trying to like go back to the way it was when we still don't know what is gonna happen next. I just feel like that's absolutely, it leaves me speechless. I really don't know what to say. Them opening all the stores, restaurants, and malls, there needs to be restrictions, there needs to be rules in place. And honestly, my thought at first was that when they were starting to open places in the first phase, it was just like for probably a week. Closed everything right back down. People get what they need, whether it's supplies, groceries, and then you look at the numbers again. But they started opening more places and more places and more places. Now they want to start opening stores, restaurants, malls. And you know, malls, like you have lots of gatherings, especially for like Yorkdale Mall. So you're gonna have all these places open, and then you're planning to open the school year. And now you're contemplating if you want to have a hybrid class in terms of like in class but also online. While at the same time you're opening every single store, restaurant, mall in the GTA. If you're just opening everything, just do regular classes. Because it seems like you don't prioritize on getting a vaccine or figuring out a solution to get rid of this virus. It seems that you see that the number of cases are going down. Okay, let's just open everything up. Again, you just can't take the numbers like that. Just because you saw a less amount of cases the next day doesn't mean you gotta start opening 5 more stores the next time. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I don't understand why people are not talking about this more. I just hope the government just thinks about this again. Whether they have to go back and probably make another statement and say, you know what, we consider it and maybe we have to like reevaluate our options. Something like that. But I believe that this is just, I just hope they make the right decision. I hope they don't bring back the regular classes. I don't think that's a good idea at all. I am totally against it. The online learning, if you're going to do some online learning, then I think that's more on the teachers and the boards of how they're going to teach the curriculum. And then the hybrids, you're going to have to figure out a way. But I think one thing that should be addressed is the enactment of student voice. There should be students hearing about this and giving their takes on the situation. There should be no reason why it's just the school board, the government that gets to say this, and then the students just have to just take it and leave it. It's like, you don't like it, well, it's what we have to do. And again, I know the government has to make hard decisions, but at the same time, it doesn't mean you got to leave people out the loop. That's my personal opinion. Again, if I'm just gonna say how I believe. I know to you guys this might be some hot takes, but I'm just one of the person that just wants to speak my mind out on the situation, just break it down as much as I possibly can, and just really give my take on it. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. I know this one was a really long episode, but I had to get that off my chest. Again, just a quick reminder, I said at the beginning of the podcast, July 6th, debut of the Timeout Sports Podcast with Kevin, Tien, and I. Make sure you check out that one. Make sure to subscribe, share, like, comment. Okay, if we can get like, let's see, if we can get like 25 likes on this video, please, that would be great. Make sure you guys are enjoying your day. Make sure you guys are just keeping yourselves healthy. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys tuning in to the Safe Room. It's your boy Sean, and I'll see you guys soon.